So, here's how the Jacksonville Jaguars destroyed themselves. Blake Bortles, the man whose most defining character trait has been his inconsistency and only had 1 year left on his deal, was given 3 more via a wealthy extension. Handing that out to him of all people was questionable at best, but as long as they kept the talent around him, they should be fine. Well, the defense would lose its leader in Paul Posluszny, a veteran who rallied the young guys around him and helped them shine in a season that would ultimately be his last, with him retiring soon after. It can't be underestimated how much he meant to this team, especially the defense that made them known. At his retirement ceremony, Telvin Smith would proclaim just how much he loved the man, and how upset he was that they let him down in New England. To conclude, he made a promise. I dedicate this next season to you, and I promise we're gonna head down and give everything I've got because of you and the legacy you left. Yet the team still entered 2018 with tempered expectations, albeit with some hiccups during training camp. Ramsey would be suspended for a week due to some unsavory comments against the media. And on a podcast, let's just say, he is quite good at voicing his opinion. Josh Allen? Trash. Stupid draft pick. Jared Goff? Average. Dak Prescott? He's alright. Doesn't do much compared to Zeke. Eli Manning? Carried by Odell. Same with Big Ben. Matt Ryan? Overrated. He won MVP, then his coach left, and now he's terrible? At least he still has Julio. Every year is Super Bowl or bust. Well, except for the Browns, maybe. They might just be shooting for a win. I guess that's one way to get people talking about Jacksonville. Nonetheless, they got out to a 3-1 start, despite missing Fournette due to a hamstring injury. They'd even get their revenge against the Patriots, with Keelan Cole showing whose business with this catch. But against the Chiefs, Bortles would unravel, throwing 5 turnovers as he showed just how shaky he really was. The defense decided to follow suit, completely falling apart the next week against the Cowboys, and from there, there was nothing to stop the downfall. 7 straight losses punctuated what talking heads were already saying, that this Jags team was nothing more than a fluke. But it wasn't just that the team was playing like garbage, the entire roster seemed to be cracking at the seams. A number of players would be arrested in London after walking out on a 64K bar tab. Then in Buffalo, a brawl would break out that saw Fournette jump off the bench and throw fists with a Bills lineman. As punishment, he was suspended for 1 game, though Coughlin decided that wasn't enough. The ruthless man that he is, he voided the rest of the guaranteed money on Fournette's contract, a move he obviously didn't like. Not just him, Ramsey was starting to get testy, taking his thoughts to Twitter to express his disdain. There was no saving the team after that, as the Jags plummeted to the bottom of the standings in record fashion. An embarrassing loss to the Titans had Fournette shouting at fans in disgust, furious as the team hit the ground hard with a 5-11 finish. You know, maybe letting Derrick Henry make you his bitch for a 99-yard score isn't exactly the best strategy to win games.
That 99-yard run for Derrick Henry, it comes in a Thursday night football game. We're just trying to scrap together any semblance of a team, like of a good football team, because that was the year coming off Saxonville. We were already disappointing. There was nothing we could do to turn the ship. We were playing for pride at that point. We get to the goal line and we get stuffed on 4 consecutive plays. We leave the ball on the 1 yard line. And my thought process is, well, fine, I guess. At least we may be able to get a safety instead of a touchdown. And then, first play is a Mariota hands it off to Henry, And it's like, oh God, we gave up a 20-yard run. Oh God, he keeps going. Oh my God, he's going, he's going. Why can't no one make a tackle? Oh my God, he is in. The Titans just got a 99-yard touchdown run. What happened to this vaunted defense that I loved so much? What happened? And what sucks is like I didn't expect them to go to the AFC Championship the next year, but like god damn, they could have just at least, kept the momentum, made another playoff run. But even though it was a tough playoff loss, the sentiment around the team was that was bad, but we have a good team. We can build off that result. We can get back there soon. And 2018 just told us, no, you're not. Don't even know how far away you were from the Super Bowl.
It was clear this team needed a big change to help bring them back from the grave, and Coughlin naturally set his eyes on a big prize. Big Dick Nick, Super Bowl champion, and now the owner of a 4-year, $88 million deal? Holy shit, okay, I guess that means the end of Bortles, who was quickly released after his dreadful 2018 campaign. Well, it wouldn't be so bad if you didn't just extend him for 3 years beforehand. Great job, guys. Now, with all that dead money eating up cap space, people had to go, including Malik Jackson, Corey Grant, and a lot of others. It wasn't exactly a surprise that players were so eager to get up and leave, as the grievances began to pile up in DUVAL. Dante Fowler, the defensive end who ended up being traded midway through the season, was fined $700,000 for missing mandatory appointments, which ended up not being the case as the NFLPA countered, forcing the team to repay the fines. Before camp, Ramsey and Smith would hold out over extension talks, with the former literally pulling up in an armored money truck. Why do NFL players always have to be such divas, man? They came together to produce a team culture that had more than 25% of all grievances filed by players since 2017 levied against the Jags. Absolutely nobody wanted to be here, mostly due to Coughlin being his typical self. The result? Telvin Smith would leave football before the 2019 season to get his life back in order, a move that didn't really end up well as he got arrested twice. Ngakoue would also hold out from camp due to a broken down extension negotiations, and Ramsey would share the same fate, beginning a season filled with disgruntled stars. The peace would last until about the second game of the season, where Ramsey would get up in Maroney's face and light him up, forcing others to come and separate them. A day later, he would request a trade, and a few weeks after that, the former All-Pro was gone, shipped off to LA, where in just 2 years' time he would be a Super Bowl champion. And as for Coughlin, that report would cost him his job, as he would be fired shortly after, signaling the end of a short but turbulent era. To seal the deal, Marcel Darius, an excellent defensive tackle, would be let go of, along with Calais Campbell, the other All-Pro from 2017. Ngakoue was held onto despite how much he wanted to leave, even being franchise tagged at one point. He took to Twitter and ranted about the team, refusing to sign. Ultimately, he would be traded to Minnesota to conclude the efficient dismantling of the best defense this franchise has ever seen. Just 2 years removed from being minutes away from the Super Bowl, they were already down in the dumps again. Oh yeah, they played football. That's right. Well, Nick Foles would last about 10 minutes in his first game before a brutal hit broke his collarbone. Surgery placed him out of commission until week 11, but by then he'd already been sidelined, in favor of his backup, Gardner Minshew, a man perhaps most known for his luscious mustache alone. He got out to a hot start, winning Offensive Rookie of the Month, and captivating Jacksonville with his uniqueness. This is the same man who frequently wore leisure suits and jorts, worked out wearing nothing but sunglasses and a jockstrap, was nearly named Beowulf by his grandpa, and tried to break his own hand in an effort to get a medical redshirt to get more playing time in college. Truly the quintessential Florida man. Given the opportunities he had, he did okay, but it's not like he had much of a chance to save this team anyway. The team stumbled to a 4-4 start before completely collapsing, with another last-place finish putting the nail in the coffin on this sorry squad. With all the hindsight in the world, it's harrowing to see just how fast everything could fall apart. And yet, this kind of team wasn't built to last. At the very least, they gave us something to remember before they plunged back underwater. The days of Saxonville, however brief they were, will always be cherished along with the glory days of the 90s. But now, they have to look to the future, doing so without Foles, another wasted contract, as he was traded to the Bears in March 2020. The Jaguars now had almost $50 million in dead cap, and with a roster of who's and what's, the writing was on the wall. The 2020 Jaguars were going to suck. On September 13th, the Jags managed to go toe-to-toe with the Colts, getting the benefit of 2 turnovers as Minshew threw for 3 touchdowns in a 27-20 win. Following the game, the Post on Twitter affirmed their goal. Not satisfied with 1-0. Well, how do I put this lightly? Let's just say the Jaguars did not win again until October 10th. "2021. Only the 4th team in NFL history to win their first game and then not win another in a season. And the 3rd longest streak in NFL history. It would be the end for Doug Marrone, another in a line of perplexing coaches. But at least he can say he has an AFC Championship appearance in his resume. GM Dave Caldwell was also given the boot, and Minshew, clearly not cut out to be the starter, got sidelined for the wondrous Mike Glennon show, who didn't really fare much better. Any chances of their draft picks panning out flew in the wayside, as CJ Henderson and Kayvon Chason both floundered in their rookie years. Though at least there was one lone bright spot in James Robinson, quietly putting up 1,000 yards on the ground. But that was about it. The Jags simply didn't care about getting better. They made their bed, and now laid in it. Their biggest free agent signing this year was Tyler Eifert for $15 million, a has-been whose best days are long behind him. It's no wonder he was given the axe. This team just didn't have a chance from the start. Combined with a miserable year where fans were kept indoors due to COVID, and you have an all-around horrible campaign. And yeah, to put the cherry on top, oh look, there's Leonard Fournette with the Bucks as a Super Bowl champion. Because of course, just of course. Along with Blaine Gabbert? You're telling me this man managed to get not 1, but 2 rings? Justice is dead. Now here we are. It's kind of crazy how a team just 3 years removed from an AFC championship collapsed this quickly. I mean, they were in free fall for years, reached up and breached the surface for a single breath, and then submerged back down faster than ever. At some point you just get used to the losing, because that's just how this team is. It's just how some teams are. I mean, do I even need to mention the Devil Rays? At the very least, there has to be a light at the end of this tunnel, a flicker of a flame in the darkness, a promise that everything will be alright in the end. It just has to. The boon of their struggles, Trevor Lawrence was the quarterback that would save this team. He'd led Clemson to a natty just 2 years prior, and looked poised to be the piece they needed in a time so turbulent. Along with him came a new coach, Urban Meyer, a prominent face in Gainesville and Ohio, one of 4 coaches to win a natty with 2 different universities. A chance for this team to finally put some things together. Oh, who am I kidding? You know what's coming. So why don't we step into the circus tent and be whisked away on Urban Meyer's wild ride? Hired on January 14th, 2021, he made it about a month before his name hit the headlines for the wrong reasons, as he brought on Chris Doyle to be the team's strength coach. A man well known for being, among other things, a big racist. His tenure lasted not even a day, as the fan backlash was so loud that it forced him to resign. That's a classic Meyer move right there. Then came the craze over Tim Tebow, a Gators legend and one that Meyer likes a lot, naturally. But, hey, Meyer, I don't know if you know this, but Tebow hasn't played football since 2015. So maybe we should... Look, Jags fans! We got Tim Tebow! Remember him? He's gonna be our new... tight end? Unsurprisingly, he lasted a single preseason game before being cut, ending what was definitely not a publicity stunt to get more people to pay attention. Then, to add onto the lovely tradition of Jags coaches making dumb moves, he would get fined $100,000 for violating organized team activities regulations. Sure, he tried to appeal his case, but it was a lesson that needed to be learned. Don't be doing stupid shit, coach. Mind you, this is all before the season even started. But thankfully, he sobered up, staying clean for about a few more months. But then, the video came out. Gee, Meyer, this is big even for you. You've even got Khan publicly lambasting you. Maybe try not doing that. But yeah, keep lamenting how it's not like college. Man, these NFL teams are like playing Alabama every week. Why can't we just do it like they do in college? Oh, boo-hoo. Maybe if you whine some more and call your assistants losers, surely that'll help. You can go ahead and bench Robinson after one fumble, show him that you're the man, and these kids need to respect you. Only these are not kids, these are fully grown adults here, and this is not college, Meyer, you silly goose. You're at the point now where Trevor's coming up and questioning your decisions. Marvin Jones is openly shouting at you, and multiple players are venting to the other team about how much you suck. But finally, on December 15th, the straw would break. And not from him. Months prior, Josh Lambo would set up for practice before the final preseason game against the Cowboys. In his 5th year with the team now, he's plenty used to the sights of DUVAL, and a reliable kicker to boot, making 95% of his field goal attempts and 92% of extra points. This year he's struggled a bit, missing a field goal in each of his last 2 games. But it's okay, it's preseason. This is the time to iron things out and prepare for the road ahead. Now here he is doing stretches before their last exhibition game. I'm in a lunge position, left leg forward, right leg back, Lambeau said. Urban Meyer, while I'm in that stretch position, comes up to me and says, "Hey, dipshit, make your fucking kicks." And he kicks me in the leg. He couldn't believe it happened. "Don't you ever fucking kick me again," Lambeau would respond, to which Meyer would retort, "I'm the head ball coach. I'll kick you whenever the fuck I want." Days later, they would meet again. He sees me and I'm all by myself, and he kind of cornered me and comes up to me and says, "Are you gonna put a smile on that face?" Lambeau would later tell the Tampa Bay Times. I said, "I'll smile if you stop kicking me." His response was, "Okay, you don't like me doing this. Okay. If you don't like me doing that, fine. But if you ever speak to me like that again, you'll be out of here. You're the first player I've ever let speak to me that way in my career, and if you do it again, you're gone." When pressed about how Meyer was offended, he would add, "When you responded to me out there on the practice field in front of everybody, if you have an issue and don't like me kicking you, well then you can keep that to yourself and wait until after practice and after meetings, and you come find me in the office and tell me privately." After missing his first 3 kicks of the season, Lambeau was cut, and would reach out to his agent to break the controversy. Of course, Meyer would deny these events, but it just didn't matter anymore. The damage was done, and a day later, he was gone. Looking back, he would say the job was the worst experience in his professional life. He would let the losses eat away at his soul, leaving him staring at the ceiling and wondering what went wrong. Above all else, it paints a picture of a man who was just way out of his depth for a job like this, and who decided to handle it in the worst way possible. So, thanks for nothing. And as for the rest of the team, well, they managed to snap that 20-game loss streak in London, so yippee! Robinson would continue with another solid year, along with Marvin Jones. And as for Lawrence, while he was definitely shaky in his rookie campaign, throwing 17 picks, he also showed flashes of what could come. He just needs more time to develop. It'll be okay, guys. It'll be okay. To commemorate the complete shit show of a season for the final game against the Colts, Jags fans decided to show their displeasure in the most Florida way possible by sending in the clowns. This is your legacy now, Jacksonville. A team surrounded by clowns. This is what the Jaguars are known for. Isn't that great? That and being the butt of jokes on TV as expected.
Did the Jacksonville Jaguars win the Super Bowl last year?
You're serious? No.
Will they ever win the Super Bowl?
Jason, I can't predict the future. But no.
And yet, they won on this day. And convincingly too, against a team that was fighting for their playoff lives. Lawrence had one of the best games of the season, giving the DUVAL faithful a nice present to hold on to as the 2021 season came to a close. It didn't matter that they went 3-14, with the most losses in the NFL over the last 2 years. These fans, the ones who stormed the stands and turned it into a circus, aren't going anywhere. Because at heart, they love this team too damn much to let it go. You might look at this and laugh, but all I see is a bunch of people celebrating the shared camaraderie of a sports team, no matter how terrible they are. These fans made this team after all, and as long as there's football in Jacksonville, they'll be here to stay.
It was kind of a sentiment of there is no way that this team is genuinely trying to seriously compete. We were just tired. We were okay with that 1 year reset, going 1-15 to tank for Trevor, as it were. But we were hoping for some signs of improvement, and we just got same old Jaguars. We just got actually, arguably, we got worse Jaguars. I am not even convinced we played football games that year because everything that I remember about the Jaguars this season was Urban Meyer was cheating on his wife. Urban Meyer wasn't flying home with his team. Urban Meyer hired a racist. Urban Meyer hired Tim Tebow. It was not a fun season to be a Jags fan because while you were already down, you were getting kicked. So why not come to the final game of the season dressed up as clowns, mock the organization that you supposedly love because they do not seem to care about you. And it does not matter how bad the Jags are, we're always going to beat the Colts in Jacksonville. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
Maybe that's the moral of this story. A tale of a team that has long been overlooked, forgotten, ridiculed, and bemoaned as the embarrassment of the league. Because it doesn't matter how many games you lose, this team could go winless for another 20 years, and you'll still have people coming to every game. That's not pathetic. Far from it. That's love. So, here. For the ones who've stuck around this long despite everything, this one's for you. Under new coach Doug Peterson, the Jacksonville Jaguars transformed into something rarely seen, a big spender. Bringing in Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, and Evan Engram on the front end, and Foyesade Oluokun and Darius Williams to shore up the defense. With the benefit of another first overall pick, they selected Trayvon Walker, a hopeful sign that better times were ahead. Yes, it took a while for things to gel, dropping 5 in a row and falling to 3-7. Trailing in Baltimore, it looked to be more of the same, as the Ravens would score to go up by 7 with 2 minutes left. But this was not the same Trevor Lawrence who threw more picks than touchdowns. This was a new man. And he proved it on this night by leading his team down the field and punching them in the gut with no time left. Tack on the 2-pointer to finish the deal, and the Jags suddenly had life. And yet it was seemingly short-lived, as they would fall to the Lions in a rough affair. Even despite pulling out a win against the Titans, thanks in large part to the reliable boot of Riley Patterson, it seemed to be once again too little too late. With 4 games left, the Jags had but a small chance to make the playoffs, sitting at 19.6% and with many teams ahead of them, though they were only 2 games behind Tennessee for the division crown. Yet despite the Titans losing again to the Chargers, it seemed to be for naught, as the Jags found themselves down against Dallas, with a Brett Maher field goal making it 27-10 with about 20 minutes left. The season rested on the arm of their franchise savior. And he didn't just come through, he made it look easy. In just 3 plays, it was a 10-point game, thanks to Zay Jones torching the secondary. Then a pick would set them up on the doorstep, where Marvin Jones would handle it and making it 27-24 before the third was even over. Following another stop, Lawrence would once again march down the field and find Zay again to take the lead. But of course it wouldn't be that easy, as Prescott would respond by leading a long 7-minute drive that ended with a touchdown, and left Jacksonville with little time left. Trevor tried his best, but when the pressure mounted the most, he would fumble the ball and squander any chance of a comeback in the process. Oh well, maybe next year, guys. Or maybe not, as the defense would rise to the challenge and not surrender a single yard, getting the ball back in Trevor's hands with 1 minute and 1 timeout left. By the skin of his teeth, he clawed to the 30, where all it took was a bomb from Patterson to tie the game and send it to overtime. Yet, once again, despite winning the coin toss, he would come short, barely even getting out of the red zone before being forced to punt. But come on, this is Jacksonville. They always have a flair for the dramatic. With a pair of easy wins against the Jets and Texans, suddenly the Jags were 8-8. All the while, the Titans completely collapsed, dropping game after game and coming into the final match of the season limping at 7-9. Week 18 in DUVAL looked to settle the AFC South, but once more Lawrence got out to a slow start, and the team found themselves down by 10 late in the second. They were at least able to tack on a touchdown to make it interesting, but from there it remained a battle of boots, as Bullock and Patterson exchanged shots late into the fourth. With time ticking down, Tennessee had the ball with a 3-point lead and looking to burn clock, giving it to Derrick Henry over and over again and burning precious seconds in the process. With 3 minutes left, all they had to do was keep churning and this game would be over. But not if Rayshawn Jenkins had anything to say about it. Follow it up with one more defensive stand, and the improbable would be sealed. The Jacksonville Jaguars, once thought dead, are heading back to the playoffs. A lot of factors came together to make this turnaround happen, with key defensive turnovers being a huge factor, totaling for 27 on the year. Oluokun would lead the league in tackles with 184, but it was the offense that truly jumped forward, going from 27th in total yards to 9th. Their big signings proved to be worth the money, as Kirk, Ingram, and Jones would all catch for 70 or more passes, with those three alone accounting for 44% of the team's total yards and 37% of their touchdowns. But none improved more than Trevor Lawrence, blossoming in his sophomore year to become the quarterback this team desperately needed. Throwing for 25 touchdowns and only 8 picks, he capped off a historic turnaround with a 23-point jump in his passer rating from the year before, the 5th largest improvement in NFL history for a player's first 2 seasons. This team was rockin' DUVAL like it was 1996 all over again. They were going to the playoffs, and hosting a playoff game at that, against the Los Angeles Chargers, a team they already played and beat back in Week 3 in convincing fashion too. You know what they say, you just never know what can happen come playoff time, and for a white-hot team like this, well, who's to say? Overconfidence? Maybe, but one thing's for sure. The wonderful people of Duval County finally have something to root for. Wait, something about this seems awfully familiar.
And thus, the stage was set. Jacksonville, January 14th, 2023. The Jacksonville Jaguars and the Los Angeles Chargers would face off as the night game.
No, maybe it's good to take a stroll down memory lane. Coming in, the Jags had about a 60% chance to win, but maybe trusting this young team with expectations was not the right call, as they would prove it on the very first play from a scrimmage. Unsurprisingly, the Chargers would capitalize, getting on the board with barely a minute gone. No matter, as Lawrence would brush it off and get back on the field, running down and leading his team to the end zone, hurling the ball high in the sky and landing in the arms of the wrong team in blue. Well, Trevor, I don't know if now is the best time to be reverting back to last year, but it's okay, it's still the first quarter, and at least the defense was able to hold the Chargers to a field goal. The good news is that he would not turn it over on the next drive. The bad news is that the Jaguars moved the ball 1 single yard before punting, though at least the defense still did their job, putting the ball quickly back in his hands. So maybe try throwing the ball at your receiver. Young quarterback not used to the big lights. I guess what else is new? Just like that, the Jags are down 17-0 at the end of the first. But come on, surely Trevor doesn't throw another pick, right? Well, to start the second, he would be sacked, and the team would punt again, allowing Justin Herbert to march down the field. From the hand of Gerald Everett, the score was run up to 24-0. And despite Jamal Agnew doing everything he could to breathe some life into this team with a big kick return, it seemed like it just wasn't meant to be. The same man who threw 8 picks all season would throw 4 in the first half of a playoff game. Probably the most Jags thing to ever happen. Were there expectations? Not really. This was a team coming out of nowhere after all. But as the Chargers would recover a muffed punt, and the ever-reliable Cameron Dicker would make it 27-0, you can't deny how rough it still feels. Like I said, you just don't know how many chances you'll get, so you better not waste them. But now, here we are. 2.2% chance at victory.
I was watching it in my apartment in college. I actually had a roommate who was from San Diego and was a Chargers fan. Even in spite of the move, he was still a Chargers fan. And we'd agreed, oh, since our teams are playing, let's watch the game together. Let's have a little bit of friendly beef. So that's what we were doing. And I don't know, at some point towards the second quarter, I open up the liquor cabinet, just start pouring myself drink after drink, and like obviously it was supposed to be a kind of friendly banter thing, but even that roommate's girlfriend just kind of looked at me and was like, "Oh, you poor thing." I was not doing great. I don't know how I looked drinking my whatever I was drinking, but I was not having a good time.
To give Jags fans a small light to hold on to, Lawrence would cobble together one last drive to put Jacksonville on the board entering halftime, leaving a silent 70,000 crowd to wonder what could have been. Yet of course, they stayed, because they always will. No matter the struggles or the hardships, this city will always have their back. And maybe it's what gave Lawrence the confidence he needed to pull himself back from the abyss. The defense would do their job to start the second half, holding the line and forcing a punt, where Trevor would showcase his resilience, putting together a long drive that had the entire team contributing to the effort. Kirk, Ingram, Jones, they would all help lead them down the field, with Marvin Jones finishing it off to make it a 2-score game. That would bring the odds of victory up over 10%. I mean, we've seen stranger things happen. Look no further than 35-3. Yet the Chargers weren't letting up, torching the secondary once again and getting within striking distance of the goal. But when it mattered most, the Jags would stand tall, forcing the Chargers to once again settle for 3 instead of 7. 16 points in 18 minutes. Make your name known, kid.
That third quarter, I was on pins and needles of, do I want to stay? Do I want to go? I was like the Clash song. I was like, should I stay or should I go? That 40-yard pass to Zay Jones for a touchdown at the end of the third quarter convinced me the Jags were going to win. I knew in my heart once I saw that play, the Jags were winning.
Well, maybe we might have a game after all. However, the two-pointer would bobble right off Jones's hands, keeping the deficit at 10, and sealing any chance of a comeback, so long as the Chargers pull it together. Sure enough, they would get moving again, burning the clock as they ran down the field into Jacksonville territory. With their backs against the wall, the Jags defense would put it all on the field and force a fourth down, sending out Dicker for a 40-yard try. He's already made 3 today, and with this kick, the Jags will have to score 2 touchdowns in about 9 minutes. All he has to do is nail it in.
40-yard attempt for Cameron Dicker. And this time, no good.
Sometimes, all it takes is a spark.
That play where Trevor Lawrence just leaps forward, uses his entire body length to put the ball over the goal line. I think that was one of the most beautiful plays that I had seen up to that point, and I was just ecstatic that we were getting this place. And of course, my roommate, who was a Chargers fan, has grown increasingly quieter and quieter throughout the night as our emotions are flipping.
At the end of the day, this game pales in comparison to a Super Bowl. I mean, it's literally the first round of the playoffs. There's still like 5 other teams that have much better odds of winning it all. But you know what? Who even cares anymore? What was once a 2% chance of victory had jumped to 42. Because as the Jags defense planted their foot down one last time and forced a 3-and-out, everyone in that stadium knew that they were about to witness something special.
We lined up. It looked like the Jags were just going to do the same thing again, QB sneak up the middle. And then Doug Peterson called the timeout. And we come out in a T formation. And I'm just thinking, we're going to run it up the middle again after that timeout?
And I think I'll just let my past self take it from here. Travis Etienne, born in Louisiana, Clemson alumni, and 25th overall pick in the 2021 draft, is a pretty good running back. He had won the ACC Player of the Year twice in college, and was part of the national championship Clemson team in 2018. But on this night, at this moment, he would put the city of Jacksonville on his back as the ball was placed in his hands with the season on the line. It's been a long, long time since that miracle run in the 90s, when the 14-2 Jags stormed to the top of the football world and came within the cusp of football immortality. Since that day, the Jaguars have lost 230 games, the third most in the league, and hope has never been lower. They'd made the playoffs only 3 times since then before today, And despite another trip to the AFC Championship, it still ended in the same result. Maybe the Jags aren't meant to win it all, but that's okay. Because this city has grown past mere trophies, mere awards, and transcended to a higher form of fandom. Does it matter that the Jags would lose next week against Kansas City? Absolutely not. Does it matter that they haven't won a playoff game since then? Absolutely not. This is a reassurance that no matter how low you fall, how beaten and broken down things may seem, that comet will always come back and shine just as bright as you remember. And when that day comes, it'll be beautiful. This is DUVAL's team. And this is a moment that will never be forgotten.
Words cannot really describe how I was feeling. It's not even a Super Bowl win. It's not even we're going to the Super Bowl. It's just, oh my God, this is a new chapter for this team. We had a signature playoff win. We had a coach we believed in. We had a quarterback who was everything that was promised and then some. And we had the best game in franchise history play out. What more could you ask for?
And so, we look now to the future, or perhaps whatever lies ahead for this scrappy team. They had their moments to languish and their time in the sun, with a disappointing 2023, a brutal 2024, and a return to form in 2025. It seems like classic Jags to ride that high from the playoffs last year to an 8-3 start, the best record in the AFC, and in a prime position to run it back, only to completely collapse down the stretch and wind up missing the playoffs by losing 5 of their last 6. Are we even surprised at all anymore? We've seen like 5 other collapses from them, so what else is new? Lawrence would be hampered by injuries and drop his production by the end of the year, and Kirk would also miss the last 5 games due to injury. By the end, the entire defensive staff would be released following the implosion, and just as quickly they would tumble all the way back to the bottom, with a 4-13 finish. At the very least, there were some bright spots, including the rise of linebacker Josh Allen, who was a Pro Bowler in 2023. Yet it wasn't enough to save the best team ever assembled by the Jaguars, according to Khan, from utterly collapsing. Following the season, both Peterson and general manager Trent Baalke would be axed, as the Jags entered year 30 of their existence much like they had before, with many more questions than answers. Was Lawrence really the guy at quarterback? Would new coach Liam Cohen right the ship? Was 2022 just a fluke? Well, if 2025 had taught us anything, it's that you can never predict what will happen next in Jacksonville. In just 1 year, they completely turned it around and exploded to the second best season in franchise history, claiming the division once more with a 13-4 record. They were propelled by Lawrence putting up his best season yet, launching himself into the conversation for league MVP in the process. Parker Washington would go from being a background receiver to a bona fide stud, taking charge after Jones and Kirk had already departed. Overall, the offense rebounded from 26th in yards to 6th, and the defense followed suit, jumping from 27th to 8th, thanks in large part to Devin Lloyd with his 5 turnovers, one returned for 99 yards to the house. Antonio Johnson was another who garnered attention with 5 picks of his own. Though once again, it was Josh Allen who kept stealing the show and proving his worth, leading the team in sacks. In a contract year, Travis Etienne would step up as well, flourishing with over 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns. Unlike last year, where they couldn't finish games off down the stretch, they did the opposite and held firm, going 6-3 in one-score games, including 2 clutch overtime wins propelled by Cam Little, who would casually set the NFL record for longest field goal ever made at 68 yards, though even he'd already broken that mark with a 70-yarder in a preseason game. Instead of dropping 5 of 6 to end the season, the Jags won 8 in a row to soar to the top of the standings, fighting for the first seed all the way until the end of the season. Sure, some of these wins came against lowly teams like the Cardinals, Jets, and Titans, but they also took down the Chargers, Colts, and Broncos, all in convincing fashion. Like clockwork, the Jags were back, because, of course they were. This is the same team that surprised everyone in '96, busted down the doors in '99, and shocked the world in 2017. They might have a reputation for being terrible, and most of the time they are. But they've also got quite the knack for turning heads. Nobody expects the perennial loser to be competent. Nobody except the ones who've been following this team since the beginning. This is no different. The Jags will always find a way to surprise you. Always. And yes, does it matter that the Jags would fumble it away in the first round against the Bills, with the defense blowing chunks when it mattered and Lawrence selling the game with a pick? No, not really, because this is just how the Jags are. Maybe being the favorite just doesn't suit them. They're known for being the underdog, pulling off the upset when you least expect it. Too much hubris can be the downfall of any team. Just ask '99. But now, maybe finally, for the first time in a long time, there's some actual, genuine hope for long-term success in Jacksonville. Lawrence is only 26, and if Cohen can keep up his success, then there's reason to be optimistic. They'll have some trouble to navigate through as always, being over the cap and having to make decisions on key players. But we know these Jags. They've always found a way to bounce back. Even better, after years upon years of relocation uncertainty and London rumors, the Jags are getting the stadium of the future. A $1.4 billion renovation to transform Everbank Stadium into a state-of-the-art facility by 2028. Sure, it'll necessitate them to play some games in Orlando for a time. But when it's done, it'll be the latest in a long line of absurdly expensive shrines to football. Because what's more American than owners flexing their chops to see who can have the biggest stadium? But it doesn't matter how shiny the new digs are, or how dingy the team on the field is, because DUVAL will come. They always will. They brought this team here, and now, 30 years later, despite everything, they're still going strong. Who knows what awaits down the road, but I know one thing's for sure. I'm excited to see what happens next. Because they're not heroes, they're not world beaters, and they're not losers. Far from it. This team and these fans are human, bringing all the imperfections and mistakes along with it. And yet, they might just be the most lovable mess in all of football. But do you think that with this team that the Jags might win a Super Bowl in the near future?
I think we have the pieces in place. We have the groundwork. I think Liam Cohen definitely is one of our greatest coaches, and he definitely cares about this team, about his players in the city. James Gladstone, he might be a sneaky good GM that not many people talk about. And of course, with Tony Baselli, guiding our culture, I do think the sky's the limit. I do think we can eventually win the Super Bowl. Now, I'm not going to go so far as to say we're going to do it next year or the year after, but it's coming. I think some of our best days are still ahead of us. I feel like I've already seen rock bottom with this team. That's definitely the Urban Meyer year. 2024, it was a bad season. Nowhere near the levels that 2021 brought to us. I've already seen how low a football team can go. I don't think, if that didn't shake my interest and my desire, my love for this team, I don't know what will.
And even if they never win a Super Bowl, I'm sure you'll still be watching, right?
Yeah. I'm signed on to this team like a bad fucking phone contract, so we're ride or die, baby.
Maybe I just love the underdogs. I mean, I'm a Rays fan after all. And with both teams, no matter how good or bad they play next year, I'll be watching with as much pride and excitement as I've always had. Why? Well, I just love them. And really, that's all you need.
Yeah.
And I guess the last thing I will ask is if we can get a DUVAL from the both of us.
I was wondering when this is coming. Okay.
DUVAL.
Sitting under the Ganyambu tree, 'cause that's where I wanna be. Feeding the sand and a car full of friends. We're laying around and taking it easy. Taking it easy. Now we're looking out into the water. Tell me all the things that are on your mind, and I will say everything will be alright. You're looking out into the fire. I'll tell you all the things that are on my mind, and you will say everything will be alright. Watching it all pass me by. I am a rock against the tide. It comes in and it goes out again. Now we're looking out into the water. Tell me all the things that are on your mind, and I'll say everything will be alright. You're looking out into the fire. I'll tell you all the things that are on my mind, and you'll say everything will be alright. We don't know what's coming up ahead, but if we work together, we can figure it out.